The bill that's being introduced by you, Senator Holzapfel and Assemblyman Catalano, that would limit the governor's executive orders to 15 days in an emergency, it seems to come at a time where people are kind of waiting for the current extension of the emergency to kind of get finished, and we still got a couple weeks to go on that. And, the way I guess I was thinking of it is, the way Major League Baseball used to approach their disabled list with a 15 and a 60-day DL, and even if you're better before that 60-day DL gets up, you still have to wait for it to finish so you can get back to playing again. So it's the 30 days does seem like a long time. Is that kind of what went into limiting Governor Murphy or any other governor from going past 15 days?
Yeah, I think what we've learned from the implementation of these executive orders by the governor is that when they did the statutes decades ago, they obviously didn't think of this type of pandemic. And certainly the governor should have emergency powers in certain limited situations. But now we're in 10 weeks since his first declaration of an emergency. And no state should be governed for 10 weeks by executive order. There's a third branch of government. There's a reason for that. It's to check unlimited executive power. And we need to ensure that the legislature has a say in some of these things. I think there's no question the first 2 weeks would have been renewed under this bill at that point. The purpose was to flatten the curve, ensure our healthcare system was not overwhelmed. But now that seems to be changing. The goalposts have moved. And that's why ruling by executive order is inappropriate, from what I can see, for such an extended period of time. 10 weeks is just too long.
So, should this go through moving forward, if a governor wanted to enact the 15-day, would he or she be able to enact it at that point, or would it have to go through the legislature to get approval first?
No, he would still be able to issue an executive order for at least a period of 15 days. And after 15 days, if the legislature agrees with them, obviously it could continue. But it would give the legislature at least that opportunity to say, hey, okay, yep, great idea, keep it up. Or wait a minute, what about this? Maybe we should be taking another look at this. And I think in this case, I think after the first 30 days, when we realized it was not the doom and gloom that we were being led to believe originally, not by the governor, but
right.
People who know the facts, that the healthcare system was not going to be overwhelmed. We don't need hospital ships. We have enough ventilators. Then I think was the time to begin some hearings. How do we come out of this? How's the best way to handle the situation? And it seems to me, had we had those hearings, we would have heard from small business owners. We could have heard from clergy about the impacts that they have on their businesses and on their churches. And those are the type of things that could have informed the decision as to whether to continue these lockdowns. But under this situation, the governor's in a bit of a bubble. He has a limited number of advisors. He doesn't have to answer to the legislature or anyone else. And while I believe his intentions are good, in this case, I think there's a reason there's a legislative branch, and there should be an ability to question the governor's use of this authority after such a long period of time.
Do you think the governor and his team have overused or misused the power of having these executive orders in the last couple months during the pandemic?
I believe that, I wouldn't say the last couple of months, but I would say in the last few weeks. And I don't want to even say misused. I think this governor has never dealt very well with the state legislature, even though it's his own party. It's not unlike many governors don't like to deal with the legislature, and I understand that. But I believe that had the governor engaged the legislature, and particularly in a bipartisan fashion, which he has still not done, had he done so, we would be much further down the road to recovery. Issues such as the shore economy, tourism, small business owners could have been addressed and done in a public fashion so people understood the basis and rationale for decisions that are being made. And right now, people cannot understand it because there is no real rationale. When you question why you can have 300 people in a Walmart, but you can't have 100 people in a church, that makes no sense. And that's what hearings would have brought out. That's what public debate would have brought out. But as long as that's not happening, it's a lot easier for the governor to rule by executive order.
So if the 15-day emergency were in order, right now, as opposed to us waiting another, 15 days from now for this current one to get up, do you think that, if you go back a couple weeks from now, that things with the pandemic, at least at the Jersey Shore and, even across the state, would have been, with cases going down and everything, things would have been healthy and safe enough to start to reopen the economy and let businesses and churches and everything open up so that it wouldn't be so as damaging, to the economy as, it is right now.
One thing I am certain of is had we started this 4 weeks ago, everybody in New Jersey would know what the plan is. Because right now, we don't know. Because it's made up every day, and the governor announces it by fiat at his press conferences. Nobody knows when their business will be allowed to reopen. No one knows when a hair salon is going to be allowed to be reopened. No one knows. And if we had started this process 4 weeks ago, we'd be 4 weeks further down the road, and everybody would have a clear roadmap of where we're going and how we're going to get there. And that's the problem with executive orders. There's no counterbalance to these edicts. And that's why we need to have a legislative input, some hearings in public so people can express those concerns to all involved.
Do you think that the Murphy administration has been using the executive orders to kind of delay things while they figure out when they want to reopen the economy and when they're ready to do other different things to sort of just save them some time until they figure it all out?
Well, I can't say for certain, but the problem, if that's the case, the problem with that thinking is, again, there are other branches of government. There are other people with issues and concerns and ideas, and the governor has shut everybody else out. And that's not right. And that's why this type of ruling by executive order for a period of 10 weeks is going too far. And it's time to put a stop to this, if not just for now, but in the future.
Right. If
New Jersey's invaded, the governor should have executive powers. Absolutely. But, that's not what we have here. It's not a hurricane. It's not a storm. That's gone. And now it's recovery. It's continuing. And one individual with a limited number of advisors, without any input from anyone else, is directing where everything should go and how it should be done. And that's just not appropriate in a democracy.
There's certainly been some issues during the pandemic, especially with the long-term care facilities and the nursing homes and the way that the Murphy administration has handled that, which is, why there are hearings coming up. But would this, change in the executive order to the 15 days kind of look into or, look to prevent further abuses of power to make sure that what the Murphy administration, or even years from now, whatever governor administration is in office, that they're more transparent with the legislature in terms of, what's going on and why?
Yeah, I don't want to be a Monday morning quarterback. There'll be plenty of time for that over the next year or two, and these hearings are very important. But I do think that had there been hearings, had there been meetings, had there been discussions of the legislature, as this was going on, we were all hearing complaints from our constituents about their mothers and fathers and grandparents who they can't see and they can't go see them. And there's people dying in these nursing homes. That would have come out sooner, and that would have immediately led to more questions. And what can we do to stop this? And it's unfortunate. It's the worst, one of the worst parts of this entire pandemic is the way our senior population has been treated in these facilities. And again, I'm not going to money winning quarterback. It's easy now to criticize. But again, had we had limited amount of emergency power, that would have come out and there would have been hearings. And that's the problem.
So to recap this bill, in addition to limiting an emergency executive order to 15 days, it seeks to prevent the abuses of the executive power during that state of emergency?
Well, that's correct. Assuming the legislature does not agree to extend a particular executive order, the governor cannot then just issue a new one doing the same thing. So we would have to wait another 2 weeks, for instance. So it's designed to make it a more transparent process, to require a bit of a check and balance on this ruling by fiat and executive authority. And that's the purpose of the bill. So
and I believe I touched on this before, but so if he were to enact a 15-day order and that 15 days passes, would he be able to just automatically put in another 15 days, or would it have to be reviewed by the legislature first?
It would continue unless the legislature essentially passes a vote that says no more.
Okay.
So he would be able to come to the legislature and say, no, I need to keep it in place for this, and this reason. And that would be public, and the legislature could debate that, and the public can see what those reasons are. The legislature can question the reasoning behind those. And if the legislature agrees, and there's 120 legislators in the state, well, that makes perfect sense. So extend it, continue it. We're not going to stop it. Keep going. But if that's not the case, the legislature can have a role to stop it from continuing.
Do you sense that that this bill that you guys are introducing would gain a lot of traction on both parties because of the executive orders that have been in place the last few weeks?
That is going to be very interesting to see, because my discussions with some Democratic colleagues indicate they feel as frustrated as we do on the Republican side. But, time will tell. We're going to see that fairly quickly. We believe that the legislature is a third of the government, and we need to have some say in some of this, and without impeding the ability of the governor to take emergent actions when necessary. So we're going to see what the Democrats do here, and it's going to be very interesting.
Thanks for taking out some time this morning to discuss it, and we'll see how it goes over the next few days and weeks.
All right, thanks, man. You have a good day, man.
All right, thanks. You too. Take care.